It's wonderful to be here with you this morning. It's a great pleasure. I have come over from Belfast, so hopefully my dulcet Northern Irish tones will be understandable to everybody. I have been given the rather grand title of the future of the creative industries to speak to, and I've got 10 minutes to nail it. So let's go. What I'd like to do is give you a bit of an introduction to who we are in creative and cultural skills, share some of our research about the creative sector and the growth that we've seen in it, and finally some thoughts on employment trends in the sector and how that should influence how we do invest in our future creative talent. As Sarah mentioned there, our talent pipeline, we're all interested in that and looking to the future and the role of education and industry in that, and I hope that will feed into the discussions later today. Okay, so let's see if the IT works. Great. So, creative and cultural skills, who are we? It's not working. Because it wasn't switched on. Excellent start. Okay, so creative and cultural skills, who are we? We are a licensed sector skills council, recognised by all government bodies across the UK. We were set up in 2005 to cover craft, cultural heritage, design, literature, music, performing arts and visual arts, with an equivalent body creative skill set for the film and TV world. We started very much as a government-funded agency with a remit for research and qualifications and working with industry, but that is how we're funded has really changed, and we no longer operate in that way. And today we're a small business with 38 staff operating as a social enterprise, and our mission is to create opportunities for young people to work and learn in the creative industries. And we do this by bringing industry and education together through our National Skills Academy, as Sarah just said there. And this event today is all part of that, working closely in partnership with Cardiff and Vale College, who are a leader college within our Skills Academy network. We run the Backstage Centre, which is our state-of-the-art training centre in Purfleet, Essex. And from September 2016, we will operate as a national college, and we're really excited about that and how we can take that across the UK, delivering higher level vocational skills working with our college partners. So what about our creative industries? The number of people who are employed in the UK creative sector is actually equivalent to some of the really big sectors like health and education, with approximately 1.8 million people working in each. And so the creative industries contribute over 77 billion a year to the UK economy. That's 5%. And from our statistics, we know that employment in this sector has increased by 8.6% between 2011 and 2012, compared to 0.7% for the rest of the economy as a whole. So that makes the creative industries the fastest growing sector, and there's no sign of it slowing down. And as also, we know that within the creative industries, we've never lost staff, even staff numbers since the 1970s, and that's through 3 major recessions. Something which is particularly interesting and which has come out of US research, it suggests that 47% of current employment is at risk due to automation, which is computers replacing human effort. However, 87% of creative occupations are considered at low risk of this. That places our sector in a really strong position going forward as we look to the future employment. It puts us in a strong position. The creative sector, and I think creative people, have proven very resilient. Creative people naturally reinvent themselves all the time, and we've seen that strength as the sector has grown. So beyond the creative industries themselves, there are now creative jobs in almost all businesses, ranging from staff running websites, big IT systems, communications and marketing, technical and craft skills, and we call that the wider cultural economy, creative jobs in traditional businesses. And now, when we add all those jobs into the mix, we're looking at 2.6 million jobs across the whole of the UK. And Wales is very much part of that story, with nearly 30,000 people employed in the creative industries here, generating 882 million for the UK economy. These are impressive statistics. So what are the drivers of this growth? One interesting factor is that there's a creative and cultural ecosystem. And you're all in the sector, I think you'll be very aware of this. It was highlighted in a recent report from the Warwick Commission, and similar research from BBC shows the same, that commercial creative industries thrive best in countries where there's a strong subsidised sector, and even better where there's a sound education sector supporting both. And that's why it's vital to ensure the case for the subsidised arts is maintained, not only to ensure we have our theatres and art galleries and museums and that all continues, but that it provides important opportunities for people who work across those sectors. There's a great interdependency, and it really contributes to how we as a country are perceived overseas. Another driver is digital. The UK has been at the forefront of the digital sector with gaming and the technical creative crossover. Digital development, we all know, is changing the world dramatically, and any young person coming into the creative workplace needs to be fluent in all things digital, and obviously that has an impact on globalisation. Businesses here can operate globally, but of course that works the other way and brings competition in. So what are the characteristics of the creative industries? Well, here in Wales, 44% of workers are freelance, and that's where we're seeing the growth. This means that a lot of people who are looking to come into the sector, it's not about progressing into employment, it's about working for themselves. They're going to create their own jobs. Vast majority of our businesses are micro businesses. In Wales, that's 82% of employers or businesses who employ fewer than 5 employees. And again, this is growing, and that's great. But it does present challenges around training and recruitment. When you are a business with 2 to 3 employees, it's harder for you to engage with education and to invest loads of resources into training. Qualifications. In our sector, we find that people are unusually highly qualified in comparison to the rest, to comparable sectors. So in Wales it's 52% qualified to level 4 or above, where 32% is kind of the norm. And whilst that might sound positive, and it is positive, it does then kind of lead to other issues. A lot of young people are overqualified for the jobs they're doing, and that can make for a rapid turnover and poor productivity for you guys as employers. It can also mean, what we see in our jobs in our sector are quite attractive, and so a culture of unpaid internships has also evolved, and that's something we at Creative and Culture Skills are trying to change, because it means that young people who can pay for themselves are the ones who get work, and the diversity statistics in our sector are really quite poor as a result of that. So there's no denying the stats. Creative and cultural industries are an area of strength for the UK, but there are still skills challenges, and there is a paradox. I think something we're asked when we present these great positive statistics is, so where are all the jobs? And it's not just as clear-cut as we have this sort of wealth of obvious jobs for young people to be walking into. And I think there's 3 trends which we see now and will continue in the future. Firstly, as I've already said, if over 40% of our workforce are self-employed, then the rhetoric around preparing people for employment of the workplace is actually misplaced. And really, our message is around make a job, not take a job. Our young people need entrepreneurial skills to make their own work, to make their own job, rather than looking for one. The growth is going to come for them being able to make a living, a profit and a business from their creativity and their passion. That's how the creative industries operate, and I think we're all familiar with that. Here's just a few pictures from very different creative businesses. The folks in the top right-hand corner who look like they're sort of dressed as hedges, that's because they are. And I mean, they started off as crafters, designer makers. They have carved out a niche for themselves in live events, where they effectively become their own live installation. People will employ them to kind of come and be part and parcel of the event and add to the overall atmosphere. That's brilliant. That's them taking their creative practice and turn it into a business It's not something we can necessarily train somebody for. There's no course which specifically equips you for that, but they have seized that opportunity, and that's fantastic. And that's how our sector is evolving and growing. And as technology gets cheaper and easier for young people to make a living as a musician or a video artist or a web designer working alone, they can do that now, and they have the technology to enable them to do it. Secondly, in terms of looking to jobs of the future, if for those interested in the entertainment sector, it's about looking beyond the stage and screen. The jobs are in backstage, technical, front of house and administration roles. And unfortunately there are so many young people and they want to be on stage, and I completely understand that. And we've got the X Factor and all the rest of it. But the reality is that the jobs are in those technical and backstage support roles. I think we have a job to do with careers advisors to actually make young people aware of the wealth and breadth of jobs available in our sector. And lastly, T-shaped, this idea of being T-shaped, whereby helping young people to develop their particular field and a depth of skill and expertise in what they're passionate about, so whether it's craft or music or design, but having the ability to have those broader skills, so collaborating across disciplines, working with other people, responding to challenges. So it's about being specialist, but also having digital skills and being enterprising. It's a demanding industry that we're in, and that is a challenge that I think industry and education need to figure out together. And that's what we're trying to do through our National Skills Academy. Education can't solve all these skills alone, and industry doesn't have all the answers either. It is about working together, that effective collaboration, so that we are delivering the skills and experience that our young people need, that we're empowering them to innovate and deliver their creative best, so that we're feeding into the sector for the future. We're helping to keep it great, we're helping to keep it competitive, and by investing in our young people's creative best. So insofar as what we know the future looks like, we can guess what most companies need. They need web designers and builders and social media and digital staff and account managers who understand the creatives but can interface with clients too. Our research shows us that we need people in skilled technical roles. We need makers of garments and costumes, carpenters, technicians and metal workers who can build sets and scenery, designers who are equipped for technical work and client-facing work, traditional craftspeople who can use computer-aided design and have bench skills. And there are clear qualities which are needed in today's workplace across the creative industries, and actually I would say most sectors. Problem solving, teamwork, flexibility, positive attitude, creativity, design, digital skills, vision, perseverance, tenacity, curiosity. I imagine we might talk more about these skills over the course of the morning in our discussions. And I think these behaviours are actually qualities that need to be practised every day, from day one in primary school right into the workplace. And so again, it's about that education and industry partnership. And just a couple of things to finish with. I think part of the challenge in looking to the future is also about us providing better advice and guidance to young people. At Creative Culture Skills, we have a programme called Creative Choices, through which we provide industry-endorsed careers advice and guidance through events and online. Unlike other industries, we do not have this lovely, straight, kind of well-tested road which leads from courses to qualifications and to recognisable jobs. It's just not how our sector works. I don't think it's how it's ever going to work. It is about tenacity and about luck, about the fashion and what's kind of where the world's moving to. We also tend not to perhaps have high pay or job security in a lot of the jobs, but people might just get to do what they love. It's a sector where individuals move from project to project, finding ever more challenging work to which to apply their skills. And I imagine if I asked every one of you here today, how did you get to be where you are now? What is your story that makes you allows you to be here this morning working in the creative industries? I know you would all have very different stories of twists and turns. We need to get better at helping young people navigate that and give them really good advice from people like yourselves who've been there and done it. And finally, with regards to just you looking at your own creative workforce, I would encourage you to wholeheartedly consider apprenticeships or paid internships. And we're going to talk more about that this morning, so I'm not going to go into any detail on that now. But these are such valuable work-based learning opportunities to just provide an invaluable opportunity for young people to learn on the job and gain experience. It's a significant investment for any employer, but one that will absolutely develop the next generation of skilled talent to keep this sector thriving. Thank you.